Right, thanks, Gil. Good afternoon. Welcome along to the Community Wellbeing and Regulatory Committee. I have an apology from Councillor Pottinger, and we have Zoom attendance from Councillor Stewart and Councillor Crackett. Somebody want to move that we accept those? Councillor Kett and Councillor Soper. Just a note to Councillor Crackett and Stewart, if you want to be recognised as present, you do need to have your camera on. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, just confirm with Alex. She just messaged to say she was an apology and to make sure that was noted, so I just wanted to...
Oh really? Because this morning I had a request for a Zoom link. Yeah. Okay.
We have it. I think she said you got the right channels, but...
Because if there was an apology, it needed to come.
Governance,
Yep.
I am here, I'm just very unwell.
Get that? And we appreciate you being there, as opposed to here. Any declarations of interest, councillors? If not, there are no items of public forum, so we'll move on to the minutes of the Community Wellbeing Fund Subcommittee from May 30th.
I'll move that.
Councillor Boyle, seconded.
Seconded.
Councillor Soper, any discussion or questions? If not, I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Minutes of the Community Wellbeing and Regulatory Committee from July 9th.
Move that way.
Councillor Soper and Reverend Cook. Any questions or comments about that? If not, I'll put the motion all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Minutes of the Southland Regional Heritage Committee from July 11th.
I'll move those.
Councillor
I'll
Soper
second them.
and Reverend Cook. Questions or comments?
Yes, sir. How do I turn the camera on?
Should be a wee icon down the bottom that looks like a camera bearing. Looks like a movie camera.
Right.
Cool. Minutes of the District Licensing Committee for July, I'll move those if this is seconded. Councillor Bond, questions on those? Excellent. I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Environmental Health Bylaw adoption for going up for consultation. Gillian and Darren, welcome along. Councillors have had a chance to read through, but is there anything you'd like to draw our attention to in the way of changes or alterations from where we'd been previously, Gillian?
The bylaw covers three key areas: mobile trading, which includes food trucks, the alcohol ban area, and untidy properties. So the key changes with regards to mobile trading, some of these relate to engagement that we did at the beginning of the year around developing a food truck strategy, and that's helped inform some of these changes. The key changes that we're proposing here is changes to the trading limits near similar products with a reduction of the 300 metres to 100 metres. Making the 50 metres, within 50 metres of an intersectional pedestrian crossing, an and statement rather than an or statement, so it works in relation to the trading restriction noted above. And removing the 2-hour restriction on trading in locations. We've also, as a result of the engagement we did around food trucks and some analysis from council staff, developed a list of pre-approved locations for food trucks to trade from. With regards to the alcohol ban, the main changes here are the inclusion of some and/or statements for clarity, and an inclusion of the actual map of the alcohol ban area, so that it provides a visual of what's noted in the in the bylaw.
But it hasn't been altered at all?
It has no alterations, no. With regards to overgrown sections, we've tidied up this section a bit, removed some key pieces around abandoned vehicles. We'll be dealing with those just as part of the disused materials provisions. We've also removed any provisions relating to untidy commercial buildings and verandas, as that's more appropriately dealt with under the dangerous, affected and insanitary buildings policy. We've got some updated or new definitions around nuisance, material or things, and overgrown vegetation. We're not proposing any changes to the actual process for dealing with untidy sections though.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that's been done around mobile trading. I guess there's been, probably in the last decade at least, excluding a 3-year period, real changes in that, and so I think what sits in the document that will go out for consultation is a reflection of where we suggested, along with the feedback it moved to, so thanks for that. Before I go to the recommendations, I'll look for feedback from the committee. Anyone got any questions or feedback at this point? Tom?
Sorry, did you see a tech question?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So as I read this, one of the things that struck me, and I searched the document for clarification, couldn't find it. So when we talk about a truck and a food outlet selling the same products, I mean, if I sell Indian food and the truck's got to sell burgers, but we both sell Coca-Cola, is that the same product? So my question is, is that a matter of judgment on behalf of staff, or is it defined anywhere else? Because it's not clear at all in the policy.
Through you, Chair, it's not defined anywhere in the bylaw. However, the focus would be more around the primary product that you're selling, so being an Indian takeaway versus a burger bar.
Yeah. So it's a discretion of staff, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So Councillor, common sense discretion, if you had a mobile food cart that sold Indian food and you wanted to park it up outside a restaurant that traded selling Indian food, that would not be acceptable. I think the light side products isn't really an issue, but I mean, you're right, identifying that it's not in the policy, but I guess there's a degree of common sense that's applied. And when there's monitoring going on, we expect that it is, because when it's not, we do hear about it and ask questions.
Okay,
Good
you.
point though, thank you. Any other questions? Reverend Cook.
So we've got some proposed sites, and some of those we know are already, some people like to use them, but I noted that there was nothing on Tweed Street, but I quite often will see mobile sellers, traders on Tweed Street, is that they have to come and ask, and it's a occasion by occasion, or do some people have regular licences for Tweed Street?
Gillian?
One of the current locations that mobile traders can trade from is on Tweed Street. However, we're not proposing to continue with that location because it does have some issues with it being very close to the roundabout. So going forward, they would need to have permission from the roading team to be able to continue to trade at one of those locations on Tweed Street.
So the sites that are suggested are pre-approved ones?
Yeah.
You could look to go somewhere else, but you need to get specific approval for those areas.
And so the follow-up question to that is, because one of the regular activities that takes place there is the selling of fruit during the December, January period. Also occasionally the selling of cookie time. I have seen them there as well. So I guess what you're indicating by this is that this is not going to be a site going forward. What do the people who do those sorts of occasional seasonal activities, what provision is going to be made for them? And have we got some sites that may be suitable that are not directly competing with the actual regular food trucks?
So the main provision is the pre-approved sites, and outside of that, an application would need to be considered by the roading team for them to consider if that was a suitable site.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something that we need to really highlight and promote, that these random things are not going to be allowable going forward, because I do think that they can be dangerous. I've looked at them and thought, who can safely stop there? Who are they trying to attract? But I guess for some of them it has been where they've regularly applied their trade, so to speak. So thank you for that, though.
Thank you. Pania.
Just in regards to the proposed sites, I think what you've got listed for Bluff looks good. But then I read some of the recommendations, and there's still that reduction of trading limit, but also the actual selling from 300 metres to 100 metres. You know, the distance between a shop literally to one of these units actually selling a similar, maybe same product. So am I reading this right, that we're still looking at reducing from 300 metres to 100 metres as in
Yes.
distance? Well, if I looked at the proposed options in the Bluff one, those would be actually more than 100 metres apart. So I'm really nervous now that we've got these proposed sites, but they could easily just overturn that by actually only by moving closer to some of the actual establishments.
So
So will
Pani,
that
I
be-
think there's a difference between pre-approved sites
Yeah,
and other sites that people might move to.
yeah.
And that's, if they're moving to another site, that's when the 100-metre rule comes in.
Absolutely, but that's what I'm saying, that's going to be right beside the other, closer to the other establishments that exist,
Then
which
it
has
won't
been
be
an
permitted.
issue in Bluff.
Right. Well, the proposed bylaw will change that.
I just wanted to note that.
Yep, thank you. And just reinforcing the fact that this is proposed because we've yet to send it out for consultation. Ria, sorry.
Thank you. Gillian, I'm just wondering, I'm quizzical really, under part 2 with mobile trading and the definition of that, I note that nothing in here says about hairdressing, beauty or barbering. In other towns, we're getting mobile barbers, beauticians and hairdressers around city centres, around public areas. So I know that they are governed under the Health Regulations Act, but they don't seem to be anywhere in this paper.
No, we've kept the definition of mobile trading quite broad, so that in terms of their, if you're using let me get the definition to quote it. So mobile trading means a vehicle, whether self-propelled or not, from which goods and or services are offered for sale.
So hairdressing is goods
So
and
that would
services.
be a service.
Yeah, it's a goods and services sale
Can I
product kind of
clarify, Ria, with the mobile hairdressing, bearing in mind that it's not something I'm familiar with because I barely have a requirement for it, isn't that a home business? Don't they go into somebody's place to do it, or
Both the
rather
tree-
than
Yeah, you're
the
right.
side of the road stuff as well?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
You note it quite a bit in Christchurch and Dunedin. It's coming up as a trend because it's cheaper for them to go off-site and go to somewhere public and provide goods and services from those sites. It's not so prevalent here in our city centre, but it's there.
Could be something that somebody might like to submit on.
True.
It's a really good point. Thanks. Wasn't aware of that. Reverend Cook.
Oh, I promised to ask the question out loud so that the public could hear the answer. I did ask why the smoke-free CBD was not a part of this policy, and I'm told that it is a standalone policy, so it doesn't get included. But I just want the public to know that the policy is not going to go away. It is an environmental health bylaw, but it stands on its own.
It's the smoke-free and vape-free policy.
Vape-free. Yes. Indeed.
Policy, not a bylaw. Thank you. Excellent questions. Are there any more? Can I, before I go to the recommendations, look for people who are interested in being on the hearings process and deliberations panel? We're looking for 3 councillors and mana whenua. Well, there you go, Barry.
Yep, thanks a lot. I just finally sorted it out.
Welcome. Good on you. Volunteers, councillor Bond? I'm happy too. Councillor Soper? Pana whenua? Oh, I'll force you, Pania, but
She's the one with the qualification.
excellent. So, the fourth point will be delegating a hearings and deliberations panel consisting of councillors Ludlow, Bond, Soper and Mrs Cook. 15th of October. Come around like that. Steve, did you have your hand up?
If you needed someone else to be
Uh,
part of the hearing.
If you want to come along and be a part of it, would you?
Yeah. 15th of October?
Yep. I mean, we can take 4 if we want, but it's, you know, it'd be good to get you into
Yeah.
the process.
Cool.
If we could add Councillor Broad, please.
I'm quite happy to if you want me.
Sorry?
I'm quite happy to be part of it if you want me to.
And Councillor Boyle. Because we're going to have quite the quorum.
Do you require a mover and a seconder?
Yes, I was just clarifying that first, so I'm willing to, willing to move on all 4 of the recommendations, bearing in mind that recommendation 2 takes A, B, B1 through to 8, C, D, E, F through to Q, 3 and 4. Are you moving that way?
I am.
Thank you. Anybody else who's not on the panel? Grant. Thanks for taking the subtle hint. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Thank you for your participation. And that brings us to the 23-24 dog control annual report. Gillian.
I'll take the report as read. The annual dog control report is a requirement under Section 10A of the Dog Control Act 1996. Some key points to note are staff are continuing to focus on follow-up of unregistered dogs, and this is reflected in the increase in infringement numbers for failing to register in this year. We ended the registration year with approximately 600 unregistered dogs, and we're also introducing pre-registration communications to encourage owners to update their records prior to registration. This makes the registration process easier for both owners and staff. Complaint numbers are consistent with the previous year, although there are some variations in terms of looking at the individual complaint types.
It kind of swings and roundabouts in the numbers, really. Some up and some are down, but no alarming trends.
No.
Councillor Bond, did you have your hand up?
No.
Oh, sorry, it was peripheral vision. Grant.
Well, just a comment really. Gillian, I think you've done a really good job of the report and presenting it too, so just want to note that. I think it's very well done.
Thank you. Tom?
When I look at the impoundments page, where it says total impoundments 298, return total 108 and rehome 21, which is 129 in total. Does that mean there was 170 dogs which were euthanised?
No, that's the total dogs that were returned home or euthanised. The majority of those are returned home.
Do you have there's no number anywhere for how many were euthanised. Do you know how many that was?
Not offhand, no. I would have to check that in the data.
Because it is a number that, sorry, through you, Chair, it is a number I would have thought we'd have wanted to at least know. Again, you know, in trends, it's missing from the data, and it's noticeably missing, I think. So I think it could be included in future reports, please.
Yeah, I agree. I think there'd be a public interest in that number. Noted, thank you. Rhea?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gillian, I'm looking, as Councillor Campbell mentioned, through those numbers a while, but what I wanted to ask, and I think it's relevant to this document, our dog control section, including the dog pound, seems to have a really bad rap in our public view, especially on social media. Are there any upcoming positive interactions that we will see, such as like when dogs are being rehomed? There's question out there that are they really being rehomed or are they being destroyed, and there's a lot of unease in the public. So is there anything we can do as a council to mitigate that concern and to bring a more positive outlook for our services when it comes to our animals?
It can be quite difficult because we do take a bit of a bad rap on social media at times. It's interesting that in the last couple of months a new page has been started around lost and found information that appear to take a more proactive support towards council and are including links to our bylaw and policy and information such as that, and reiterating processes such as the fact that we have a first time offence return home process, which means that if your dog's picked up wandering and the dog has no history in the last 12 months and it's fully registered and microchipped and we can identify where it needs to go, it'll just go home. So that's positive.
Yeah.
I really would reiterate that we do rehome dogs. We don't currently rehome directly from the pound. We work with a number of agencies throughout Otago and Southland and even up to Christchurch to rehome, and we have had a lot of success with that.
The metaphorical Karen of Facebook is very loud, and the process of a dog being euthanised is not quick. I mean, by that I mean you don't just catch the dog wandering and put it down. There's quite a process, so we have to bear that in mind. Sorry, another question.
Supplementary to that question, do you think I hear what you're saying about the individual page that started, but do you think it should be a story that we tell for ourselves to our public and not relying on a social media page to get our assets about how great we are looking after these animals, rehoming them? Do you think it's something that we could look at as a council?
One of the things that we're wanting to start working through in the upcoming year is doing some more education programs, looking at doing education programs in the schools.
Perfect.
Such like. We also, on occasion, we get up onto our own Facebook page, when we've got like a cute dog, that's been picked up for wandering or looking for
I've
a
seen
home.
that,
Yeah.
It's more, I think it seems more human from our perspective council when we do things on our own social media pages, like the dog that was missing and his owner found him. It just seems that there's an opportunity here for us to be more visual and louder and how great we are providing for our dogs and being returned home in all of the areas of this report here too.
I mean, we're always open to consider, to look at ideas for how we can better publicise our role and what we do and the importance of it.
That's great, yeah, that's good.
Pania.
I just noticed that there's a really high number of infringements, but when I sort of looked at them and the complaints, I mean, we've got 577 wandering, and then we've got 27 neglected, but we only have like 2 that fail to supply proper care and attention. I'm just wondering what happens with these complaints.
So a lot of the wandering ones, it depends if we actually end up picking up the dog or not. There will be situations where we get out there and we don't find the dog, and usually they'll either go home, as I said earlier, on a first home, or they would be impounded, and then they would have to go through the process of picking up their dog, paying fees, paying registration if it's not registered. With regards to neglect, we tend to work with the SPCA around that sort of thing. They have more powers than council around neglect. We also, infringements, we have some infringements depending on what's happening with those particular complaints. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Ria.
Gillian, just a last question. I want to pick up on the comment when you said that sometimes if council picks up these animals, wandering or lost or what have you, if it's not council and our agents that pick up the animals, then who in our public are authorised to do so?
So under the legislation, anybody can look after a dog for, there's a period of time, and I think it's 72 hours you've got to hold a dog while you're looking for its owner. I can't quite remember the details of it. There's also Invercargill, which is the New Zealand Companion Animal Register, where for a fee of $15 you can pay to have your animals chip registered on the Invercargill, and rescue agencies tend to be authorised agents to scan animals and check that data against the Invercargill, and then follow up with the details and return that animal home.
So we currently haven't given an authorisation to an individual in our community that's well known for picking
No.
up animals?
So council data and the National Dog Database is restricted to councils.
Okay.
They're working off the Invercargill data.
So individuals might do that, but they have no authorisation to,
Right.
which I think answers the subtle query you were asking.
It does. It answers it, but it doesn't actually deal with the issue up front. But
That
that's
would,
okay, we'll
but
do
that would be a police matter,
Yes.
potentially. Other questions? Mayor Clark?
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, I think the SPCA their inspectors have authority to uplift dogs as well. And I think the police also have authority as well. Some of the figures, I just want to reinforce what my colleague was saying, some of the figures are a little bit confusing. So when we look at in pounds, including returns to home, and then we have returns to home, they seem to be conflicting statements, and I just think maybe there's some clarity needed around the ones that we rehome, which doesn't mean they go back to the original owner, but they go on to, like you say, to another agency that might find them a forever home type situation.
Yes, that's what rehomed means. Yes.
So there's
But
returned to home. in other
it
words.
says return to home, and
It's
then
the
it
only
says
claim
return
we
to
have.
home on the next line.
It doesn't say rehome.
It doesn't say rehome. So it'd be helpful to know those figures that where we get abandoned dogs. And certainly when you get to menacing dog complaints, it says 86, but then, which includes rushing and intimidating, but then the next line says rushing and intimidating is actually 12 more. So that's a little bit confusing as well. But it would be helpful to know the sensitive issue of disposing of dogs as well, euthanizing them, because that's always an area of concern, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Two recommendations. Barry.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what, with these euthanised dogs, what the breeds are. Are they pit bulls, or
They're
is there a special
they're
type of dog?
not identified, Barry. They're just a
Oh, yeah,
number
okay.
by
Okay.
breed. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Just thought I'd ask.
Yep. I don't
Thank you.
think in any of the dog control reports around the country that they're identified by breed, are they, Gillian? Not from my
I wouldn't think so, no.
recollection. Mayor Clark?
But the menacing dogs do have some classifications around them. So certain types of dogs.
Some breeds are
Yes.
classified as dangerous.
And I noticed in the report it talks about dangerous and menacing dogs, about having a total of 87, which is, as an overall percentage, is only 1% of the registered dogs in a city. So it's not a large problem, but one that needs, we need to keep an eye on.
Doesn't matter how small it is until it's coming at you.
Yeah, but I think the issue is there are some breeds that by breed are classified as
Yes.
dangerous
yes,
and
that's
menacing
right.
dogs.
Yep.
For sure.
That's in the Act, I think, isn't it, Gillian?
Yep.
Yes, it is, and
Yep.
Just 25 according to our figures by breed.
there's by breed or by deed. By breed there's breeds and types
Yep.
as well. Types.
Okay, councillors, two recommendations. One's to receive the report, the other's to adopt it. Looking for a mover and a seconder, Pania and Trish. I'll put that. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you for your participation in that. Thank you to those who've joined us on the live stream. We're going to be moving into public excluded for receiving minutes. Minutes of the PX session of the Community Wellbeing Fund and the public excluded session of the Southern Regional Heritage Committee. And the reasons are outlined in the agenda. I'll move that we go into public excluded to discuss those for those reasons, seconded by Grant. Put that. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. We're in public excluded and the live session, a live stream will conclude.